I live in a beautiful city. When I was 19, I fell in love with reading horror stories because those stories were just so interesting. There was always something novel and intriguing. But I never believed in any of that. In my view, it was hard to accept the idea that things invisible to humans and animals could harm us or affect our lives. Until one night. But even then, I still felt that someone would surely be able to explain what happened to me that night. At the time, I was living alone in an apartment in the city center, surrounded by restaurants and shopping malls. The area was always bustling with people, lively and busy, and nothing frightening had ever happened there. The lights outside were so bright that even with my lights off, the room was still illuminated. So I had to draw the curtains tightly thick, dark curtains to block out the dazzling lights from outside. That night, it was a bit chilly, so I covered myself with a thin blanket and quickly fell asleep. My bed is very large, and I like to sleep on the side against the wall. I was sleeping soundly when I was suddenly jolted awake by a pulling sensation, as if someone was tugging at my blanket. It wasn't like those horror movie scenes where something pulls you from the foot of the bed, but more of a side-to-side shaking and pulling feeling. I immediately turned to my left, but there was nothing there. However, I noticed that all the lights in the surrounding buildings and my neighbors' homes had gone out. Half asleep, I shrugged it off, thinking it was just a power outage, and turned over, planning to go back to sleep. But just then, I felt that pulling sensation again, and this time it was even stronger. Yet, there was absolutely no sense of anyone being in the room. My body instantly froze, and I immediately felt as if the blanket was about to be completely yanked away. The force was pulling in all directions. In the end, the blanket began to twist and fold under an invisible force, floating up like a magic carpet from India. Right behind me, it buzzed and flapped, making a humming noise, and because of all this chaos, the bed started shaking as well. The night was utterly silent, but that sound was so close to me. I could feel the air moving along my neck with the blanket. My heart started pounding wildly, and I was so scared I almost burst into tears. Later, I must have fainted from sheer terror. When I woke up the next morning, I found myself in exactly the same position and spot as before I fell asleep, as if I had just lain down. And that blanket was no longer on the bed, but draped over the chair beside it. While washing up, I glanced in the mirror, and noticed a rash on my neck. It must have been caused by the blanket wrapping around my neck, pulling and rubbing against it. What on earth was messing with me?